I've been watching a ton of it lately. And I feel like I have gotten to know you very well, which is like that big phenomenon you get on the internet when you feel you get to know somebody. But I feel like a lot of our stories are very similar. You came out of the sugar diet trend, as far as I could tell, and you're one of the few voices I feel like who was consistent with their message and regularly uploaded. Is there anything about your message that has changed over this whole time?
No. And that's something that I find pretty much everybody who came on to the sugar diet or started to make a channel about the sugar diet. There was tons of women. There was Mark and Cole. They're back on fasting and one meal a day. And I mean, Cole's channel has now been like, he's had like so many strikes on it. But anyway, so all of his videos are gone.
Oh,
If you've
wow.
noticed or
I
seen,
ha
like he
so I
has
don't
7
watch
videos
him
uploaded.
frequently at all. The only reason I picked it back up was because the whole sugar diet thing, because he was on about his dry fasting, I don't know, he was just fasting all the time. I remember him from way back in the day, and I thought this was
Right.
ridiculous. And
Yeah.
then, hey, comes along and he has a pretty decent message, and I guess that went in the trash.
Yeah. So the reason that I guess I started my channel was that I was seeing this phenomena of people now getting onto sugar and not basically being like, sugar is poison. Now everyone was like, oh, I get to have candy and I get to have pasta and I just love my life now. I get to have cola without feeling guilty. And I just thought that people weren't getting it because it was coming from these guys who had like this bodybuilding, fasting, keto background. So they kept being heavy on it's cool, just have the lean protein and have the veggies, but don't have the starches. So most people have still said that the starches make them gain weight, said that you can't get lean on starches, and basically are not understanding the connection that like sugar and starch are essentially the same thing once your body breaks it down. And if you keep it low fat and if you stay away from the lean meats, people would say, I'm having like such great success. And then I went out with my friend and we had like Lebanese food and we had beef or turkey or whatever it was. And then I was like full of sodium and then I like swelled up and it must have been the starch.
Right.
So I think that really was why I started my channel, was to just sort of push that high carb, low fat message rather than just the sugar or just the protein. Like it's like people just discovered a bodybuilding diet, kind of.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the bodybuilding diet's still kind of going strong. They all want that protein. I'm actually amazed that the protein obsession is still going on
Yeah, me too.
this far into it. And I thought the sugar diet thing was truly going to be the thing that made people realize that they, one, didn't have to fear sugar, and two, that your body actually needs some energy, and protein's not, or the lack of protein's not going to kill your muscles.
Yeah, and there's plenty of examples of like people and communities that don't have any protein. Like it's not something that they prioritize. They have probably half a gram of protein per kilo, even. And they're happy, healthy, vibrant people that don't have any like diabetic issues, don't have any hypertension issues, kidney problems, and things like this. So I think I wanted to come on and tell people to eat enough and to keep it low fat and to also like prioritize what is outside of the diet, which includes your sleep, like what you do with your day, who you spend your time with, the environment that you're in, and how you can be practical. Because everybody lives in a different place, and you have to work with what you got. So
Exactly.
that's a big reason why I started it. And I didn't ever anticipate myself like starting a YouTube channel because back when I was doing the fruitarian thing, I was just on Instagram talking to people, DMs, and making stories, and everyone was liking each other's stories. And it was kind of we're all this like friend group of a couple hundred people, but yeah, it wasn't something I ever saw myself doing. But I just thought, might as well. So,
That's 100% what I've been doing. I started a completely separate Instagram account so I could make friends with people who ate a little more similarly to me. And
Yeah.
then same as you, I never thought I would get online and make any videos, especially since the whole vegan plant-based craze started around for me, I think over 10 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to get into that. But here I am now making it, and I'm still a little surprised we're here because I'm like, I should have given up by now, but
I'm
we're
with
still
you.
going.
Yeah. It is still kind of strange, but it seems that it's like a reinforcement, like because being high carb, low fat, it can be a bit not like isolating, but people will look at you like, wow, you're having a lot of bananas, or like that's like so much sugar. I still get comments to this day that like you're gonna die, you're gonna get like osteoporosis, like you're just a clueless dumb woman, like you don't know what you're talking about, and it's just it's constant. So I feel like the message still needs to get put out there that people need to understand that your body literally needs sugar.
I'm surprised to hear that because you look so healthy and so vibrant, and you're not in your young 20s or anything. So I
Yeah.
don't usually get comments like that just because I look pretty good for my age. So
Yes, yeah. So you're 40,
so I'm 38.
there's 38. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought
It's
I
all right.
heard
I
that
keep
like
saying
you
I'm
were
close to
40 something.
40. No, I keep saying I'm almost 40. So it's
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, so I'm 30, gonna be 36 in July, this coming 2026. So yeah, so we're close. So you're 87?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and I just felt like people were missing the message that because there's this, you know, they have the tiers of like the skeleton city or whatever, skeleton diet where they were doing, they were losing weight on tier one, which was basically like a mucusless type
Hmm.
diet, with just fruits, veggies, as much like maple syrup, added sugar, jams, whatever, like apple sauces and stuff like this. And then they just jumped from tier one to tier three and didn't even kind of bother with the starches, which I thought was a bit naive or a little short sighted in the sense that they were losing weight on starches, though they did end up saying that at some point. So I don't understand why everybody was against the starches, or there was a lot more people saying, like, I'm stalling with starch. And I think that this is very short sighted as well, because, like, what are you doing this for?
Hmm.
Like, why everybody's on this weight loss journey and everyone wants to be skinny, but do they want to be fit? Like, I was super skinny, you know, I was
I
like
saw those pictures.
way too thin, and like people said I had an eating disorder and all of this stuff, and it's like I don't really, I didn't think about it that way when I was doing the fasting. The fasting was clearing out the toxins, was like clearing out the mucus, was this sort of like I can be light and bright without food, basically, which was also naive on my part. So like I would never recommend that. But I was that thin, and I had tons of people telling me like, "Wow, you look amazing!" Like, "Oh my God, how are you doing this?" And that sort of reinforced that pattern where I wouldn't be able to run a 5K. You know, I was barely keeping myself together when I was running my business. Like, I would have constant breakdowns of like nervous tension, and it was just not really an emotional, like, regulation diet. It was very up and down, and it's not sustainable. But I thought I could end up doing this breatharian thing, right? Where now I don't even think about that. I'm just focused on the transition because I was eating meat like a few years ago when I was 31, 32, still eating meat. So it's like I'm just happy that I'm not doing any of that anymore.
Hmm.
So I'm happy that I'm with the starches, with the sugars, hydrating, resting, and then like doing any activity that I want physically and doing it better than I could have years ago when I was younger and fitter or whatever,
Hmm.
like this type thing.
I think that's what I like about what you promote because you don't show off that because I think you were raw vegan for a while, right? So there was this
I was trying.
level of being perfect or having this ideal raw vegan diet, and you got really thin. So yeah, it's like congrats, you got you got what you were asking for and what a lot of people are looking for. But if you feel like crap because you are so low energy because you don't have anything, I don't know, for me, when it comes to eating maybe just all fruit and even all fruit and vegetable, like tier one skeleton city, I can feel the difference on, when it's like you can feel the last of your carbs depleting, and then that energy you just shut down, and then you just start getting shaky and you want your carbs now. And so that's why I like the starch and why I haven't gotten rid of it, even though it's technically ideal, I suppose. Because you have seen long-term people, high carbers, they've cut out starches and they've lost weight. Like you've seen these things.
Yeah, so there's a lot like I don't know, Freely just posted a short where she was like, my whole diet isn't fruits. And I'm like, okay, so you're back on
Saw that
starches
too.
again, where and there's a couple other women who've been like high carb, low fat for a while, and they say like, okay, like now I'm not doing the starches. And of course, like they're losing weight, but it looks like they're losing muscle as well. Like the glycogen stores are depleting, like the glutes aren't as full, the legs aren't as full. And it's like, great, you're losing weight, but like, how's your performance? Or like, can you handle the sun? Like, would you be able to roll on the mat for an hour? Like, it's just something that I don't think a lot of women think about. It's
Yeah.
more about just looking a certain like physique, which can be very debilitating. So when I was trying to be raw vegan and having this like perfectionist mindset, I would constantly be comparing myself to other people online with with this intention of knowing that like, okay, like they're probably not 100% honest all the time. Like I'm not
Mhm.
that naive, right? But in the sense it was like, but I know that they're probably like 95% raw, and like why can't I be that way? And it's important to transition, and it's important to take your time. And I think most people are in a rush and they want a quick fix because we have been like fed this like dopamine of like, wow, you watch somebody's story and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months and this is how I did it. And it's like, but can you maintain it?
Right.
Because I was that way, and I could have, the only way I would have been able to maintain it was to continue fasting all the time. And that's why I think Mark and Cole and these guys are back on the fasting, because I'm paying for the lowering my BMR. Like I'm paying for that like metabolically, and it's going to take time for me to be kind of back to that like full muscular physique, I guess. And I'm not so worried about what I look like. It's more about like how I feel.
Hmm.
And I think most women are on the opposite end, especially in like the fitness sort of regime on social media.
Right. And I feel like you're doing it like one step at a time. I think I've said this before, where every day you get a little bit better, and that's a good thing, because you don't want to drop 10 pounds, feel like crap doing that, and then just gain it all back within a couple of days. Some people can do that.
It
You're
happens.
doing it the good way.
Yeah, which happens all the time. Like you can gain a few kilos in a day from eating starch and being very hydrated and having lots of juice. But then when you wake up in the morning, you'll lose it. Like,
Hmm.
because that's how quick your body needs to sleep and use all those calories to get through everything it needs to get through while you're resting.
Yep.
So it's the weighing, everyone was weighing themselves and it was all like, if the scale's going down, then things are good. And it's like, no, that's not the only thing that matters, is the scale going down. So
Right.
I just felt like, yeah, the message was had some holes in it. So I just wanted to fill in that like you probably need to transition with starch, especially because most people were following Mark and Cole, and they were on a keto, they were on a carnivore type lifestyle. So like, not to mention like your gut microbiome has to change, and for you to just like start having fruit juices and then you're like, oh my gosh, this hurts so much to have all this sugar. And it's like,
Hmm.
well, yeah, no wonder things you went from 0 to 100. And when you do something really extreme, you don't, I don't know, expecting it to just go smoothly. That's another thing, was like when I was doing the mucusless diet or trying to be raw vegan or fasting, like there was plenty of times where I had elimination symptoms where it was like you had headaches because this was coming through the bloodstream and stuff like this fat or this mucus was leaving, and it wasn't pretty all the time.
Hmm.
And if you had a ton of grape juice, like you might have had like to go to the washroom right away. And this was part of the eliminating and cleansing out the system that I didn't think a lot of people talked about on the sugar diet.
Yeah, that's true. Do you ever feel like going to that extreme kind of it's detrimental because you mentioned the microbiome? It's part of the reason why I refuse to get rid of beans permanently because people will talk about, will have rice or have potatoes, but don't have beans. I don't know why beans are such a taboo, but I don't want to get rid of the enzymes that makes it so I can digest that food very well. I have zero problems with them, and I think it's because I haven't cut them out.
Yeah, and I think that's wise. Like they are like higher in protein. So if you have like kidney problems, just be aware of that. But I don't see like any dark circles under your eyes or anything like that. So, but yeah, like people's like skin and the way that they smell, like all of these things will change as your diet changes. And really, if you're not resting enough and you're like super stressed out, these things will take a toll on your body. Like I was working 6 days a week, and then on Sundays I would always go see my family. So like I never had a day off. I was just on this rolling roller coaster where it was just constant stimulus, and I didn't get enough rest. And yeah, it definitely took a toll on my body. Like everyone gives me shit for having gray hair. It's like, and it's like the stress that I put my body through while I was fasting is like, it's out of their mind. It's like negligible. They don't understand me or my life or anything like that. But that's part of being online is you get judged. And I think it's really interesting how people perceive you and they leave comments and it's almost like they're trying to compete with you or something. And it's really interesting. So,
Right?
but
It's like,
I do love having the channel. Like I do look forward to putting out a video, and I do I read every comment, you know, like, and I think there's a lot of valuable information that people share in the comments, like with each other about like what they're eating or what they're doing or where they're living. And so it's all important, like to be a part of this community, I guess, and try to learn from each other. Like that's the point, right?
yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't know everything. I just know my experience and what I've been doing, and it's been working for me. And I'm a woman, and this is how old I am. And I don't know, like you can try and compare with that, but you can't do exactly what I'm doing. But you can try to emulate things and then pick and choose what works for you. But ultimately, it is like sleep, water, sugar, you know, when
Yeah,
it
that's
comes
a
down to it.
good,
Yeah.
healthy message.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like you said you started off paleo before you even started any of this stuff. What made you decide paleo was a way to go for a while? I did the same. I was paleo before I went plant-based. And what made you realize that paleo wasn't it after a while?
So it was more the yoga studio that I was going to, like everybody was into keto. So I just thought, okay, like, and we even had like group like meetings that weren't even like a yoga class. It was just like, let's hang out and talk about diet and let's talk about what we're eating. And so that kind of drew me in just being a part of that community. And I thought, okay, like I'll try it. And it's still high protein and I didn't really have to eliminate too much because I mean, the carbs had to go, but I still would cheat and have them, you know? And like most people who are on keto, I felt like they would tell you right away, like, I'm on keto. And like, this is what I'm doing. It's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. But I was drawn to it because other people around me were doing it. And I just felt like, okay, I'm 25, 26. Like, I got to start taking care of my health. Like, I can't just rely on like my athletic background and everything else to kind of keep me going, right? And everyone always said like when you're a woman, when you hit your 30s, like I had a big fear of turning 30, like
Hmm.
bruises don't heal as easily and you know things are sore and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, like aging sounds horrible, so I've got to do something."
Yeah.
And so that brought me there and then I went into CrossFit and they were pushing like super high protein. I was eating so much meat and it was also like I didn't do enough research really, but I just was like, okay, if I have a ton of protein, but I also had a ton of fat with it. So I ended up like just being more swollen, I think. You could see it in my face and
Hmm.
like you know, my legs and my glutes were like big, but they weren't like muscular. They were just more
I
swollen,
have
I guess you could.
pictures of me like that because I was in the same sort of community, paleo, CrossFit, and I just felt like I looked swollen.
Yeah, yeah. So now looking at it, like the way the info, like there's pictures of me when I'm just early in my early 20s, and I thought like, wow, in your mind you think, oh, in your early 20s you like look amazing, but when I look back at them now, it's like, well, I
Not
was
me.
drinking a lot and I was eating pizza after the bar, and I was, just kind of going with the flow, and like it really is that. Like my gums look inflamed, like my cheeks look like rosacea-y, and like yeah, I just was on this road of kind of like unconsciously going from place to place and doing like, yeah, I was very susceptible to whatever trend was kind of in front of me and thought, oh, I'll try that. If somebody
Hmm.
said it works for them, okay, like maybe it'll work for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, sugar was never a part of it. Carbohydrates were never something that people highlighted. I never heard like, yeah, carbs are really good for you because
It's
I
something
didn't
they talk
hear.
about now. People recognize it today. Even the people that still eat paleo-esque, I mean, I feel like people are promoting more of the homestead style diet, but it goes along with anybody still CrossFitting or kettlebelling. They'll eat their meat, but they know the importance of carbs now.
Yeah, yes. And they always say I work out a little better with carbs. Like I
Like it's
feel
a
a little better if
surprise.
I have little bananas and honey, or like this is what tennis players do when they sit down in between sets, is they have bananas and honey. There's tons of pictures of these athletes eating like this, or having a sip of maple syrup in between sets. It just makes sense and it
Hmm.
makes them feel better. And then they think, oh, it's like being afraid of carbs is like being afraid of a good night's sleep.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
It really is silly. Like now, eating how I'm eating, I never feel like I'm missing out. Like, oh, I should put some more protein on my plate, or like,
No, I
yeah,
never think that
because
way
when I
anymore.
do have if I have the olives and if I have like higher fat, you can feel it. The
Hmm.
next day, the cardio is not as good, or you're kind of cranky. It's just like it slows things down. It just
Right.
slows you down.
And it's the point of it, right? That's why people will eat fat or protein because it does slow down your digestion. It makes you less efficient. It's why you feel fuller longer, and people are surprised by it.
Yeah, there's the obsession with like I'm satiated. That's what
Hmm.
I find on all these like what I eat in a day. And there's girls posting stuff that are high protein and kind of like lower carb, and they're having 1,500 calories a day, and the page has 23,000 likes on the short, and I'm thinking like people think this is normal, and it's like literally the starvation diet. Like the Minnesota experiment was 1,500 calories a day
Hmm.
for grown men.
Right.
Like, and people celebrate it in the comments, and I can sustain this calorie deficient. And it's like, that's cute. But once you get back to eating what you would think is normal amount of calories, I would bet, and I know that you're not going to be able to maintain this weight.
Right.
Something's got to give. Like, so I'm all about like longevity, or like just being able to like live my life and be able to eat when I'm hungry. Like if I want a juice, I'm gonna have a juice. I'm not gonna say like, oh, it's too much sugar. Like,
That's funny. I have a video coming out about exactly why I don't count calories, and that's the big reason because I don't want to have to micromanage what I put in my mouth.
yeah, the only reason I ever count calories is to like show people on the channel what I'm eating.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
And that's because people don't actually believe you when you say you're eating so much that, I've seen you pour what, like 150 grams.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I still get comments on those shorts, and they're from months ago, and they're like, "Are you crazy?" And it's like, "Am I crazy?" Like, I don't think so.
I
I
mean, you
felt
look
great.
and feel great, so it's
Yeah.
working just because a lot of people just don't believe it. Um,
Yeah, so I guess if you've never tried it, or it's like the last time you had that much sugar was when you were a kid or something, and I always wanted the candy over the chocolate. I wasn't into chocolate. I always wanted like the fuzzy peaches or the sour blast cherries or whatever. Like I always wanted that sugar. And my parents used to always like, give you crap about it, but like now I know better. Or I used to run around the kitchen and just grab sugar cubes like out of the cupboard.
I didn't
So
know that was a thing until this past year. I started trying it out, and it was like, hey, that's like candy with all the food dye.
Yeah, I guess yeah, that's the only drawback is that especially in North America, it's hard to stay away from like the red 40 or whatever the stuff is.
Yeah, it was a
And
lot.
that's a challenge. Whereas when I'm in Europe, I don't really think about that. I don't have to worry about oil being in the juice, which is insane.
Is that something we have here? Oil in the
Well,
juice?
when I was in Canada, I picked up like a fruit punch, like something similar like to a liter, and I was like, oh, this tastes kind of interesting. And then I looked and I'm like, wow, there's oil in this. Like this is shameful.
Wow.
I shouldn't even have to read the ingredients. And but anyway, it was one juice, and it's like, all right, it's not gonna kill me, but it's certainly something that I wish I didn't have. But it is what it is.
So we're talking about how you eat. How would you define the sugar diet, just so whoever's listening actually understands what we're talking about, at least for you?
For me, it's high carbohydrate and low fat, and I think moderate to low protein because the protein is hard on your organs. It is harder for your kidneys to process it, and it's something that you shouldn't be having with every meal. If you have it at night, you have the beans, you have the tofu, that's fine. It's like it is more satiating and maybe helps you sleep or whatever it is. But for me, it's high carb, low fat. I have very hydrating like juices, fruits, kind of jams, apple sauces, fruit purees type breakfasts and lunch and snacks. And like, okay, if I want some candy once in a while, I'll go get candy. But I think that was something that people were with the sugar diet was like, oh, I'll just have as much candy as I want. But after a while, it's like you would rather have like the maple syrup, you would rather have the honey, you would rather have just sugar water. Honestly, I've been having more sugar water, and there is some beauty in that simplicity. Even
Yeah,
just a little squeeze of like lemon juice, it's so nice. And I think it's easier to digest than maybe a banana smoothie with a bunch of sugar in it.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so if you're gonna go to the gym or something, or you're doing something that's high energy, sugar water is fabulous.
Did you have to work up to that? Because when I tried doing fruit meals for the first two meals of the day, I felt like the only time I got it done successfully was when I started throwing some sugar in.
Uh-huh.
And it's not something I regularly do now, but I usually rely on dates a lot more. But the only time I was able to do it was when I was putting, I felt like a ridiculous amount of calories, enough to feel like I was full until dinner time. And it seemed like I almost had to mess with my mind to get to that point because, when you're so used to having normal meals,
Yeah.
getting on the fruit and sugar just seems ridiculous, even to
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah, and when you look at it, it doesn't seem like something that's going to fill you up or nourish you or satiate you. But yeah, that's sort of the programming of like the food pyramid and whatever we've been taught since we were kids, right? I mean, I grew up with my breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then
Hmm.
okay, if you're hungry, how you will want a snack? Here's a granola bar or an apple or something like that. Um, so I guess when I first started having sugar, I would put 6 to 8 tablespoons into 500 mils.
Okay.
And I would treat that like a monster or like an energy drink. I would be like, okay, like I shouldn't have this, like, I shouldn't have this unless I'm gonna go work out. I shouldn't have this unless I'm gonna go do yoga. But then I would end up having for lunches because I was still working at this time, I would still end up having some kind of like sandwich or pasta or soup or something like that. So I guess for breakfast would be always fruits. And at this time, you have to remember that I was juicing a lot too. So I was making my own, like, I would make my own orange juice or grapefruit juice and stuff like this. And then so for years, I was having juice with no added sugar. So I guess that kind of helped me
Hmm.
in some sense. And then adding those tablespoons of sugar, did that for a few months. But then when I did come to Europe in June of 2023, I was having unlimited sugar. And then at night, I was having like olives, tomatoes, and some feta.
And were you burning up at all? Because that's what I noticed. My body was just hot.
Oh, well, it was like the middle of summer and it's pretty hot here, like especially when the sun's out. Like it's no joke, you actually don't want to be in the sun from like 11 o'clock to 3 because it'll drain you. But I was outside all day. I camped at the beach for 6 months, like
Incredible.
so
What an
like
experience.
slept on the ground and like I just I woke up and with the seagulls and everything. So I was sleeping as much as I wanted whenever I wanted. So there would be times where I would have the sugar and knocked out. And people would see that as like a bad thing, but that's part of the transition of like my whole system just being like, oh, you finally have some carbohydrates. Like now I need to rest and kind of just work on the body.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I was having like marmalades, goiabada. Like I didn't cook anything, right? I didn't have like a rice cooker. I didn't have a stove. So, and I rarely went out, but if I did, I'd have like a McDougal style pizza, no cheese, just veggies.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it was as much sugar as I needed and a lot of juice, a lot of this type pasteurized juice in plastic. Like I got a comment that was like, "How can you call this healthy?" And it's like, have you ever been to a grocery store before? Like, do you
Everything's covered in
only?
plastic.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I like this is the world we live in. I'm just trying to work with what I have, and I think other people need to kind of get out of this perfectionist raw vegan. I'm gonna go to Bali and I'm gonna go to Costa Rica and I'm gonna go to Thailand and just eat the fresh fruits. And it's like not everybody can do that. So if you're a person that was like me, that was like in North America and somewhere cold, like 6 months out of the year, I needed to have something that wasn't just the fruits because that's what kept me at such a low calorie. And that's why the
Yeah.
fasting and everything, it just, I was, I was getting like an adrenaline rush from fasting because my body was just eating itself at some point.
That makes sense.
And like you mentioned, or somebody mentioned like the glute workout in my last video. And I think that's kind of interesting because I do a little bit of like working out, but I'm not like crazy about like, all right, I gotta get like a top shelf. Like I gotta get like a really, really big glutes. But when I was fasting, I had zero. It just went flat.
Hmm.
So all of that glycogen, like my organs probably shrank by 50%. And that's the other thing that like when you're in this like metabolic recovery, if you were like me, fasting a lot and calorie restricting, this like fat that you might accumulate is very protective because you need to bring those organs back to life after they've been sucked dry, like in a dehydrator, basically.
Right.
From June, July to August of me like properly carving up, I was so much fuller. And like, men have big shoulders, big chest, and they have like they're the triangle upside down, and we're the other way, right?
Yeah.
So women have stronger legs, stronger glutes. So I was finally filling out, and I just basically went from like a teenage boy physique to like an actual woman. And that's something that I had to like tie my head around and being like, oh, like, I'm not this like skinny thing that I was obsessed about being, and that I was really just finally filling out my muscles properly, and that was on very low protein and like pretty low fat still, even though I was having like the dairy or the feta. It was still very low fat in comparison to any other way that I was eating before in my life. So you don't need more protein to grow your glutes.
So people
And
are seeing you with these gains and you're just filling back out low protein, high carb, and what are they thinking? They think that you've just got some great glute routine or
yeah, I mean, that's the impression that I'm getting. But I didn't do any training like in a gym. I just was walking everywhere and playing soccer on the beach. So another thing I think like being like playing sport is like very important for like your fast twitch like muscles and
Mhm.
like how you can so like sprinting on a track is great, but like, can you change directions without pulling a muscle? And I think like a lot of these high protein people that are in the gym and stuff, like they wouldn't be able to handle it. Like they wouldn't be able to play 90 minutes without having some sort of, I don't know, pain or soreness or things like this because they're not carved up enough.
Right.
And you can feel it if, and most of the guys that I play with, they're like, how do you do this? Like, I'm like, I just have some more candy. I'll just have a little bit more baby food. And some of these guys have like collapsed on the field. And I've brought them a baby food and brought them juice. And I'm like, oh, thank you. It's the first thing you need. If you're fainting, like your blood sugar just went down.
That's how we grew up. Our parents brought sliced oranges in plastic bags
Yeah,
after games. These days, I don't know if they do anything like that now. I feel like kids just want a snack every 10 minutes and it's not
yeah.
high carb, it's just mostly garbage. But that's what we grew up doing.
Yeah. I remember the soccer, yeah, it was like juice and orange slices, and every mom had to do it a different week. Like we had them at halftime. Yeah, I remember those times. And it's just, it's so simple, but it's like I didn't connect it until now. So yeah, and it saved my life. Like I definitely would have been hurting my health if I continued to fast as much as I was, and if I continued to calorie restrict as much as I did, and be obsessed with trying so hard to be a fruitarian, raw vegan that I was looking at on the internet. Meanwhile, like these people are having cooked food once in a while. Like they call themselves high raw, and then they have all
Mhm.
these kind of hippy dippy stuff, and when you're like, it's just, that doesn't work for me. Like that's just not real life.
Maybe that's why I stayed away from it because I don't have the hippie vibes. I just couldn't do that
It's
little soft voice. And I try to have aesthetic food because I actually do like pretty food. But yeah, I couldn't get on
yeah,
board.
people say you have to eat with your eyes and things, and like that's something I kind of sometimes struggle with, is like, all right, it is a bit boring, but I feel better when I have
That's good.
potatoes, when I have rice with a little bit of mixed veggies, and it's kind of getting off of the salt cravings, because we have all been eating a lot of salt for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I did anyway, like for many years of my life, and I never thought about it being a bad thing. And then watching people salt their food before they even ate it was just something that was normal.
Yeah, I still criticize certain people that I eat meals with sometimes. Not my immediate family, but I'm like, I already salted that. They'll still
Yeah,
pour it on. I'm like, please don't. It's salty.
I know. And like, like my mother is on like blood pressure medication, and I try, but there's only like so much you can do. So I just keep being the message, like, this is what I'm eating, this is what I'm having. And I'm like, oh, it's too much sugar. Oh, it's just, oh, it's so boring. And it's just like, but how do you think that continuing to eat the way that you're eating, your health is not getting better as you age? Your physical appearance is not better. Your energy is not better. Like you've got to do something about that. And it's the willpower muscle that like you kind of have to exercise, and like do what matters to me, how I feel, or just like taking care of other people and just, running myself into the ground.
Hmm. Is that part of why you live where you live now?
Well, yeah, and I'm in between places. I'm like working on some things, but I don't really want to settle in like North America, especially like where I grew up. There's just not much there. I would much rather be 5 minutes from the beach.
Yeah, that's understandable. I
Yeah,
live
yeah,
five,
and
not,
just the general vibe here is
yeah.
just different. Like, my mother was born in Croatia, and my dad's family is like Austrian, German, around that. It's all like Yugoslavia. It's like very close, right? All this,
Hmm.
and so that's where I always gravitated towards when I was young. I came to Croatia when I was 12, and I just thought like this is the place to be. So I've always felt better here than in Canada. So
It's understandable. It's cold there. You said
yeah,
Toronto,
yeah,
right?
it is cold there. Yeah, and whenever I call there, it's like we're freezing, and it's just like, yeah, I'm happy to be without
Yeah,
a light.
it was 20 degrees out Fahrenheit yesterday and it was raining at the same time. So it's still raining right now. It's like ice mornings. It's
Yeah,
warmed
like
up
a
a bit.
freezing rain. I know. Yeah, you said you're like in upstate New York area.
Yeah, I'm really close to where you used to live.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's not bad. Like we have the four seasons and it is all right, but it's not
And it does get hot
it's
and humid here. I think people think that it's up north, it's always cold. It gets hot and sticky humid here too. And I
I
lived in
haven't
Florida. It doesn't get like Florida hot, but
yeah.
yeah, I lived like 10 minutes away from the beach. I don't know, you just kind of I felt like my skin looked better at all times,
Yeah.
the moisture.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and people underestimate like the elements, and like how important it is to ground or get in the water and be barefoot. Like, we stick these like shoes on our feet and they really encumber the foot, and like like the foot is more absorbent than any other part of your skin. And that's how you're supposed to understand where you are and what you're doing. And I just think, yeah, there's a lot of connections to the earth that I don't know, been lost or has been like deliberately taken away from us, and we're distracted with other things. So yeah, I mean, that's like the hippy dippy part of the fruitarian raw vegan that I was into, was like, all right, yeah, like this is much more akin to like what the Bible would like, like Jesus's life, or what we should be eating, right? And
mhm,
so one day, will I be full fruitarian? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not, I'm just worried about what's in front of me.
right.
But is
And that's a
that the
good place to
goal?
be.
And like, is that the ideal? I think so, but that's like so far from the practical world that we live in, that, yeah, I'm just doing what's right in front of me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I've experienced that too. I think that's where I guess I can be a hippie. The whole reason I transitioned was the environment, but I felt like it was more of a respect for nature and realizing that we are also part of it. So it made sense. I'm like, okay, let's go back to this ideal that, we wouldn't have to go to the gym. We wouldn't have to make time for outside. We wouldn't have to make time for social lives if we
Yeah.
all just did what we should be doing, which is being outside, growing our own food, getting real nutrition, having that be like friends and family time. And look at that, we're grounding now. We're touching the soil. We're actually eating nutrition. We're getting some sunlight in our eyes and on our skin. So
Yeah,
I
for
so I'm
sure.
totally with you on that. That's how I felt like, and that's part of why I try to build my house that I have now the way it is. But we still live in a modern world. Here we are
Yeah,
just on technology with my
yeah,
Bluetooth in my head and
yeah.
screwing things up, left and right.
But it's like, yeah, that's what you're looking towards, though, and that's what you want. So that's where I'm at too. It's Yeah, you work with what you got, I guess. What was I was on something else in my head and I forgot now. But anyway,
So
um,
I know this is going back to the topic. You went from being super scrawny, under eating, to eating an abundance of all the sugars that you wanted,
yeah,
and getting healthy again. And your rebound, because this is a big topic that's talked about or has been talked about, it seemed like it was pretty minimal. And how do you feel like that compares to what some others may experience? There are some people out there that say you cannot get fat on these protocols. And I've seen the rebound and I've seen people gain like 50 pounds or more.
yeah.
So,
So if you really think about it, right, I was like 114 pounds at my
oh,
lightest, and I had maintained that. Yeah, and I'm 5'8". So that's like, it's not, if you put that into BMI, like it's gonna say that you're underweight. So, and you could see it. You could see every bone and everything. So if you think I was 114 pounds, I did cross to go up to like 160. So like I did gain almost all the weight back that I was trying to lose, because on my 30th birthday, I'm like 170 something, maybe even more pounds. So I think my rebound is kind of fair in the sense of like I had to go back to what I was when I was 30, and then I've leaned out like since. And now I'm more at like that 65 kilos or 145 pounds or like 22 BMI or something like this. So like, am I am I feeling good? That's all that really matters, right?
Mm,
And honestly, like if like people are checking you out, like and people
they
are
are.
looking all the time, right? So it's interesting. It's young, it's old, it's in my age group. It's like there's constant of like, wow, like looking, and you can feel that like people check you out when you walk into a room. And it is really interesting because I find that it's like they can see that you're energetic. So they can see that like you have this like carved up aura, and it might sound kind of crazy, but there is a real truth there that like if I needed you to go do something, you could do it. If I needed you to go run over there, I bet I could rely on you.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what subconsciously is happening to these people when they see somebody that's carved up. Because I know there's plenty of people that went on like the Durian Rider Freely protocol from 2014, which I didn't even know existed at that time. I had no idea about any of that. And they all said, "Oh, I gained so much weight," and they're so full of it, and they don't know what they're talking about, but they neglect to inform the viewer about their past eating patterns. And so that matters. Like if you've been eating carnivore and fasting for like 10 years, like I have no idea what your rebound is going to be like.
Hmm.
So I'm lucky that, you know, I only dabbled in the fasting for a couple years, and before that people would say like, "Oh, it's like kind of a healthy diet where I would like skip breakfast and have like a fatty latte and then just sort of eat by feeling and craving," which is not very wise, especially as a woman. And yeah, I had no idea about my hormones or my cycle. Like, I obviously knew it was happening every month, but it wasn't like, why do I feel like I'm gonna like fly off the handle a week before?
That's impressive. You still had a period at 114?
Yeah, so that's the other thing. I thought like I was inferior because these girls were talking about like I only get my period like once a season. I was
I
like,
didn't have a period for 2 years at one
that's
point.
yeah,
Uh,
that's
and
crazy.
and I was mad about it too, because I'm like, well, when you're that hungry all the time, you get a bit sensitive about small things. So I thought it
Yeah,
was a big deal that my doctor was like, well, you might need to gain a little weight. And I'm like, but I finally like the way I look. Why are you telling me that I got to change something up? I should be
yeah.
able to be this small and have a period. But and realistically, I wasn't that small. I don't know. I didn't think I looked that small. I felt like anybody should be about that weight, but it's the way you get there, right?
I bet that if I continued, I would have lost it though. Like
Oh yeah.
that's it's hard to say because I didn't, but if I didn't start having sugar, I'm sure that I would have at least something that would have given in the
Yeah.
body. It would have had to be like, all right, this is over. Because there are times that I was trying to be raw vegan and all this, but then I would see my family and there'd be a steak and I'd eat it, you know, like so I can't say that I was perfect, and my body was literally telling me like you're gonna be blacked out now, and you're gonna eat all this food, and you're not gonna remember that you ate it, so it's okay. Like that's about as crazy as it got. So, and it is interesting because I was that small, and nobody that was like super close to me really did anything about it. Like really was like sat me down or had like an intervention, and so you have to kind of be careful who you hang out with,
Yeah.
or like this like how people approach you. And I think I was really unapproachable when it came to diet because I was so Monday, don't talk to me, I'm fasting, don't tell me I can't fast, and like there's nothing you can do about it. And so people just kind of like let me be. But if they had let me be for a little bit longer, it could have been really bad because I was
Yeah.
passing out. I passed out like I was closing the sliding door, and I like passed out in the corner, and like I could have like hit my head on the fireplace, or yeah, something really bad could have happened. So I'm very thankful that Somebody was like, you know what, Lauren, you need some sugar. And I was like, well, I've always loved sugar, so I'm gonna say yes to that.
Yeah,
So
I distinctly remember walking up the stairs during one of these times when it was super low calorie, low carb, everything. And I was out of breath trying to make it up the stairs so I could go find the restroom. And it's
yeah,
just not a way to live. But I was tiny, so I was happy.
yeah, that was the same mentality as me. Is like people said I was skinny, so great, and like I wanted to lose weight, so great, but I didn't really think about the future. It was just like just getting skinny, and then once I got to that destination, it was I continued for a couple months before I started to carb up. So
So
I
what do
had
you feel about those people who so they have their rebound, but they're like at 50-pound rebound and they're just cramming in the sugar and they just, if anything, keep gaining weight, but they're not losing weight. The kind of, the promise that you finally get to that point, even
yeah,
after years.
I don't know. It for me, it's like I see people that are consistently doing this for like 5, 6 years, but they didn't have like 50 pounds to lose, but they maintain weight being super lean for many years, eating as many calories as they want. So I do think it's a consistency thing, and I do think that some people will tell you that like I'm doing it, I'm really doing it, but there's a lot of cheat days, or there's too much salt, or they kind of don't even realize that there's oil in the sauce that they're eating and that's adding to the fat calories. So the super low fat, like there's fat in potatoes, there's fat in rice, and people don't
Right.
even count that.
Hmm.
So as like crazy as it might sound, or very like obsessive or calorie counting, when you are beginning to figure out your diet or what you're going to eat for that day, in the beginning you have to really understand what you're putting in your body. So for the rebounding, it's something that you have to go through. Like, just like I think with the fasting and the eliminations, like I had to go through a lot of headaches. I had to go through puking a few times. I had to go through diarrhea a few times. And I thought, this is part of the process. Like, this
Yeah.
is just how it goes. And so having like faith and trust, and then also, I don't know what the stress level is like. Like, I don't know how much sleep they're actually getting, and what kind of environment that they're living in. All those things do factor into your health. Like, I don't know, do you have mold growing in your shower that's contributing? Like, there's a lot of factors at play. It might
Hmm.
sound a little bit crazy, but it is part of your health. And like air quality, like, do you open your windows once in a while? Like, even when
Right.
it's winter, you got to open your windows so you can breathe some fresh air.
Hmm.
um, so the rebounding, if you're gaining weight, there is no way that you can get fat off of eating a low fat diet. You're going to be starting to retain some water. Maybe you're having too much salt.
Yeah.
You're going to be filling out your glycogen stores. So this is the other thing where it's like, this is what my body actually looks like. When I was 114 pounds, like that's not what my body
This is your
actually looks like.
dehydrated body.
Exactly, exactly. So I think the hydration thing, people don't understand what a healthy body looks like, because there is such like a huge body dysmorphia problem in the world that we have today. There is so much uh, makeup, Botox, Brazilian butts, like everything, like,
Yeah.
and Freely has silicone, and like
Yep.
people forget about this, like, and she always does these like shots where it's just strange to me. So everybody kind of like hides and pretends that they're perfect in this. Like, I live in like I live in Australia all by myself in the forest, and it's just like you have to be very, very honest with people if you're going to give advice.
Yeah.
And I think the making money part of it can really distort the truth.
And I think that
So
was an interesting thing. You pointed out earlier how she posted recently that she eats starches. And this is after however many months it was that she says she eats fresh fruit to cooked fruit. And it's just
yeah,
all fruit, almost all fruit. And who knows, we're probably going to get blocked for saying that.
Yeah,
But
whatever. But it's the flip-flopping. So that's why I'm like, have the starch.
yeah,
Like have it because it is glucose. It's not gonna be that like that quick hit like straight to your liver, but or give you that like boom, like I just had a spoon of maple syrup. But it's easy to lose weight on a fruit diet because you're basically on a calorie deficit. I
right.
mean, if you're not adding sugar to it, that's how it goes. That's
Yeah.
how it goes.
And so would your advice for somebody who has like they're looking at their vanity pounds, they just want to tighten it up a little bit versus somebody who has 50 pounds to lose. Is it the same advice basically? Because you're really going for the health, it seems.
Yeah, yeah. I think for people that are undereating and people that are like underweight and overweight, I think it's the same advice and it's the consistency and being like real with yourself because it's like, what do you do in the dark when nobody's looking? Like, do you sneak that little piece of whatever? And we've all done it, okay? Like I'm not perfect, right?
Hmm.
But it's knowing that like damn, like I'm the reason I'm not getting where I am. It's not because of the diet. It's because
Right.
I screwed up
Hmm.
and being honest with yourself. So that's all. It's like consistency, discipline, and it's not glamorous and it's not what you see online. And it's your real life.
But
It's
it's
your real
also
life.
nice to have that community because what I see in my physical real life is 180 degrees from what I actually do. So it's not like I have my environment helping me out. In fact, I got to work extra hard against my environment to do what
Yeah.
I'm doing now. And I tell my kids this all the time that we're fighting. We should be obese right now based on our friend group, our environment. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
about this that makes it easy. So like
Yeah.
lucky for you, I force you guys to eat healthy food. And by force,
Yeah.
they love it. But
Yes.
I'm like, you don't have to worry about your environment. I do.
Yeah. And like yeah, like that's amazing. You got like kids to take care of and you get to watch them thrive on this like vegan diet, which is incredible. And like yeah, more content, like not involving your children, but like what do you make for a family meal would be like really cool to see, or how do you incorporate like what does your husband eat or what are your kids eating? What do you eat is like very interesting because it'll give other people maybe like a chance because I'm just taking care of myself. So
Yeah.
I find it's like it's hard enough to take care of myself, but to like carve up other people, you've got to be carved up to do that. Like
Yeah. They
yeah,
definitely, so yeah, I've shared some content like that and it's definitely starch based because it's so much easier than attempting to do any fruit based anything like all day for
and they're
kids or a
so
whole family.
expensive
It's
for
so expensive.
subpar, like
I'm
low
just
grade
grateful
salaries.
we
Like,
make our own maple syrup. And as a person from Toronto, you
oh
have the
yeah,
best maple syrup over there. But yeah, we
yeah,
make our own maple syrup. So at least I'm like, yeah, have as much as you want because there's a ton of it.
yeah. We've tapped the trees in the bush and stuff. It's good.
Yeah.
Make the maple syrup. Yeah, yeah. Like so, it's the best diet I've ever been on, and it's actually quite easy to follow when you just like take away the noise of like, well, I want this, and it's like what you want to feel good. So maybe you have to eat a little bit boring sometimes,
For
or it's
sure.
not going to be because we're so overstimulated.
Hmm.
And I guess everyone says it over and over again, but like it's not like it was 25 years ago. Like things have
Yeah.
changed incredibly fast, and like
That's why
it's
we need the
very
routines more than we
yeah,
need something interesting.
it's very easy to fall off. It's very easy to get wrapped up in what's going on in the world. And that's the point is like anything worth doing is a little bit difficult sometimes. Like
Yep.
the first time you draw a bow, you're not going to be good at what you're doing or whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
So
And
yeah,
that's why I
so
appreciate channels like you out there, and part of why I started one because I wanted to hear that message. I like hearing the same thing over and over, and that's what makes me
yeah,
a little boring, but it keeps me on the right path.
exactly. And I find that that's what most of the people that are like looking at my channel, they like want to hear the message over and over again so that they have that community.
Yeah.
And it is nice to like talk with you. Like I'm so glad that you asked me to come on
I'm
Yeah.
glad you said yes. I feel like I said, we didn't even touch on some of the other stuff, but I feel like we're coming to that time again where it's going to cut us off. So,
Well, we can always do this again in like
yep,
a couple weeks or whatever it is. Like
absolutely.
I'm pretty open. This is a good time for me. It's like it's whatever. I got the light on. It's like darker here, but that's okay. Yeah, so I'm happy to get like more into like we were gonna talk about maybe like the Bible and things like this.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's
Yeah,
another big obsession of mine. So,
yeah. And that's another thing. I think like people if you lack faith, like it's easy for something else to replace that.
hmm
And it's not necessarily like what you are made of. Like you're not made, if you weren't born to pay taxes.
right.
So, we didn't come from this earth like to just go to and then yeah, you need to make money and yeah, you need to do all these things, but that should definitely not be the focus in your life. Like the purpose is to honor this like vessel that we have been given. And I think that's one thing that like when I was young I didn't understand. When I was 20 years old, when I was partying and whatever, like I just thought I was going to be 20 forever
All
and I
right.
was be fine forever. And like old people, whatever, my parents don't know what they're talking about. And but yeah, like I have two older brothers just for reference, and like honestly, if I kept eating like they are getting like not worse, like they aren't fat or anything, but I'm just like, 10 years ago, you guys looked amazing when you were 30 or 29 or 28, and now it's like you got one of them's got gout once in a while and things
Wow.
like this, and it's just like you have to realize that it's what you're eating,
hmm
it's how you're spending your time. And I understand, there's like so many things that come up in life and you have to handle it in the best way that you know how, but when you're eating right, it's a lot easier to handle the stress, and that's something that was just something I couldn't handle
hmm
when I had a low calorie diet.
No,
That
you
was,
can't handle anything, and all you care about is your food.
yeah, yeah.
So they can find you at Lauren Loves Carbs. Is that right?
Yes, Lauren Loves Carbs on YouTube.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you again for coming on, and
Thanks, Amber. Like, I really appreciate you having me. So
I
I'm glad we
appreciate you being
talked.
here.
Yeah,
You had a
yeah. So
lot of
we'll
good
definitely
stuff
do
to
this
share.
again. You just talk to me anytime.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Thanks.